Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good evening, my friends. This is Angy Stewart from Mia InnerLight, and we are here live on Kardec Radio. Our show, our program now is once a month. Every first Thursday of the month, we are doing our show. I like to say our show, but it's actually our study group. So we study the gospel according to Spiritism and also the book called What is Spiritism? Two beautiful books that help us so much in life. And throughout the pandemic, because as we know, this Omicron is coming and maybe the things are going to get a little bit difficult again. By the way, I took my shot yesterday. And my God, I had a tough reaction. I really got in bad shape this morning. Like the whole night, I couldn't sleep. I was in so much pain. You have no idea. My whole arm, but my shoulder, my head, was impossible to sleep. So today I couldn't even go to work. But I'm glad that I am good and I am here. So if my boss is saying this, I was really feeling sick. Anyway, so welcome. If you have never been with us to this study, it's a pleasure to come here to talk about spirituality in general, helping us throughout these times that we are still not feeling 100% okay in meeting our friends and family. We see some countries already closing borders, so it's hard. But things will be better. We have to be always positive that things will be better. So if you are in your house, go running and pick up a bottle of water. So throughout the studies and our prayers, your water will be actually your medication throughout the week. So remember, when your water is finishing, don't empty the bottle, but when it's finishing, do yourself a prayer, a simple prayer, asking the enlightened spirits to put your medication there again, and then you fill up the water. So your water will be again replenished with the good energies that we all need. So at this moment, I would like to invite all of you to close your eyes because of the brightness of the computer, and let's just do our initial prayer, okay? Dear God, our Master Jesus, thank you so much for always protecting us, guiding us, inspiring us to do good. Thank you for the opportunity of being here live tonight to continue our studies, our moral improvement. And we would like to ask our guardian angels to come close to us, to inspire all of us. Today will be me, Teresa, and Nora. So inspire us through our words so we can reach the heart of every person and everybody can understand what we are saying. And please send us good vibrations to our friends that are not with us right now, but I will be listening to this in a recording version. Thank you so much. So be it. Very good. Let's bring our guests. Hey, Teresa.
Hello, Angy. Hello, everyone. So glad to be here again. It's been a long time.
Yes, long time. Yeah, now I do only once a month. So, yes, a long time. Glad to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank you for the invite. And I'm glad you're still doing it, Angy. It's much needed.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And hey, Nora.
Hi.
Nice to have you here with us, Nora. Thank you so much. And Teresa, Nora is one that always, she was always telling, the pandemic is getting better. The programs online are finishing or are diminishing. And it's true, Nora, it's true, because people start going back to their reality. and then they start doing less of the online version. But I believe the future, the new future, would be a complete version, would be going in person, but also having online. So it's just like something of adaptation to the centers. But I think this will be the new normal, because throughout the pandemic, people that are in states that they don't have any spiritist center, they don't have anything, and that they live far away. So it's wonderful. They can get this study. So I hope we will all be able to do this, and as Teresa said, to continue our studies.
That's right, because look, Nora's in Texas, I'm in Vermont, and you're in Florida. And
Exactly. Isn't that amazing? This is globalization. This is globalization. Look at that.
Mhm. It
But
helps us to connect with people we wouldn't connect with. We wouldn't have the opportunity.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm so happy that I moved here from New York. But you follow Teresa, because I remember you used to come to our center in New York. And then when I moved, you were one of the first ones. You're not going to do anything online. I'm like, well, I don't know. Let's see. And
Mhm.
then I was doing Skype, and then Vanessa invited me to participate. I'm like, wow, it's meant to be. This is good. So I hope things will get better, and both of you can come here to visit. That would be really nice, to bring you both to visit our little center, Mia InnerLight. Little center, but it's our little seed.
Looking forward
Very good. Let me just say hello here. Hello, Saul. Saul is like a Teresa. I know Saul for so many years. How are you, Saul? Yes, yes, Saul. I got the booster. I got the booster yesterday, and it was crazy.
to.
I was boosterada. It was really tough. I was like, whoo, whoo, whoo. And I was not like this in the first and in the second shot, not at all. But the third one was like, whoo, tough. So Saul said, I didn't do my gospel at home today. I'm going to do with you. Thank you. Yes. So welcome. Let's study together. This is awesome. Oh, look who is here. Vanessa. Hey, Vanessa. So, what a joy to see you, dear friends. Yes, Vanessa, it's a joy to see you too. I always say Kardec Radio is ahead of time, because when pandemic happened, we are ready. We're doing it online for a long time. So the pandemic didn't get us like, oh, what I'm going to do. No, we're like, I know what I'm going to do. Kardec Radio was like, yay! Helped us. So this is a blessing. Very good. Let's start. So we will start with the gospel according to Spiritism. And today we are gonna attempt to do the chapter 23, Strange Morals, at once. It's a big chapter, and they have lots of things that are very important, because when we read about it, or when we hear about it, it's so weird that we're like, that's strange. What did Jesus meant to say in this situation? So there are many things that we will see throughout the study. Some of them, they probably were wrongly translated, and others was just like the semantic of the words. Like Haroldo Dutra likes to explain, the Hebrew language from the past was one word that meant so many different things. So one word meant different things depending of what, with the connotation, depending of what is the sentence meaning. So, and then of course throughout the years the translations start changing it, and for us it's like, what? So let's go through and let's try to explain a little bit about each of the strange morals. So the first one is this one here. This says, whoever does not hate his father and mother. So basically, it's like Jesus is saying a sentence and he's telling people, if you don't hate your mother and father, you cannot come with me. So just to think about is already strange. It's like, really? Jesus, such a loving being, would be saying to us to hate our parents? So let's go. I will read just a little bit and then the girls can start commenting. So it starts like this. A large crowd of people was walking with Jesus when he turned to them and said, if anyone comes to me but does not hate his father and mother, his wife and children, his brothers and sisters, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. And continues, and anyone who does not want to take up his cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Therefore, anyone among you who does not renounce everything he he has he has cannot be my disciple. I think this is a little weird. He has and cannot be my disciple. He cannot be my disciple. So, what can we start talking about this situation here, girls? That you have to hate your parents to follow Jesus.
Well, I think Kardec explains it so well. You know, he says, first of all, we only need to look at Jesus's reputation to know this doesn't connect with what he was teaching and spreading. You know, telling us to forgive 70 times 7, and turn the other cheek, and so this just is not coherent with what he was teaching. So, Kardec says, again, like you mentioned, Angie, the semantics, that um, the word hate, in another language, or it can come from this idea of love less, so it's not actually this strong word of hate. But I think, more important is to understand that Jesus was saying, if we're putting anything else before, or something is more important, we're kind of missing the boat, and the idea of taking up the cross. No, Jesus was not expecting us to go crucify ourselves, but the idea that we all have our own issues, and to be willing to, look at ourselves, and also to change ourselves, to transform. So, and also Kardec even points out about, there's that saying that it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven, which again doesn't really make sense. But he points out the rope in that time was made of camel hair. So then we can understand it a little bit better of where the saying came from, and how it was, most likely many of them were taken a little bit out of context.
Yes, very good. Nora, what do you think?
Ooh, let me see. I'm scratching for words, but when I think of this, like the hate, it almost reminds me about hyperbole. You know, it's such an exaggeration, like you said. It doesn't necessarily mean that. And I know that there's a whole explanation again on the language component, but I mean, maybe this is now us seeing it as, can we start to be less materialized? Are we, think of some of the most important things that we are attached to, right? Would be people around us, and that's hard, you know. And so I was like thinking that is just a hyperbole to say, are you willing to just detach? That's because you said it all, Teresa.
No,
You said it all, girl.
it's a
You gotta jump in there and go first, Nora.
No, it's good.
it's totally good. It's totally fine. And yes, Teresa, she gave great explanation. Me and you, Nora, we can just add a little bit to it.
Yes, it was good.
The core is that. The core is that. First of all, Jesus would never tell anyone to hate someone when he's telling everybody to forgive your enemies. It's like, if you're going to forgive your enemies, how Jesus is going to tell you to hate your mother and father? So something is strange. But then when Kardec so beautifully explains through the passage here that the real meaning should be love less, then you connect. Because yes, exactly like Teresa said, if you love God as you love your mother, if you put like the same, maybe one day your mother will need something and you will go to do that, but you are not going to do something positive. Let's imagine something weird that has to happen, and you will do something that's not good to help your mother. But if you love God, you will have to be right. You will have to do what is right, even for your mother, your son, whoever. Let's give an example. Imagine someone that has a kid, and this kid committed a crime. And what a good mother would do, a good mother would hide the kid and say, I'm going to help you. Shh, let's resolve this situation. Or a good mother following the guidelines of spiritism, of God, or whatever the person believes, will say, what you did was wrong. Unfortunately, what you did was very wrong, and now we're going to have to fix it. And you will have to face the consequences. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy. But that's what you have to do. That's what we have to demonstrate to this kid, to give the example. You cannot commit a crime and hide. You have to face the consequences, whatever reason. So this is loving less your mom, your son, your husband, and loving more God, because you are going to be a righteous person, even if to the law of society it could be difficult. But that's what Jesus was saying. You have to love less everything to follow Jesus. And as we see the first Christians, they gave their own life. So very difficult when we think about it. And they were like, they had so much faith that they went inside the arena singing. They were like, they had faith. Their bodies were going to die. I'm not saying they were not afraid. They were, but they got the comfort on their faith and on each other. And as we read many books of Emmanuel, we read that most of them were removed from the body even before the lion killed them. So this is just to demonstrate they didn't feel the pain of having a lion really taking your life. So this is a faith that helps us to go through this. So this is beautiful, well explained. So let's go to the next one. Yeah, Teresa?
I just wanted to say, also, it really makes sense when we remember when the Pharisees asked him, what is the most important commandment? And Jesus said, love God above all else and your neighbor as yourself. So we can really explain this strange moral through that, through Jesus's instruction. I mean, that's exactly what he's saying, to love God above all else. So
yes, very good connection. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So that's why I love so much when we study something, and I love so much Spiritism, because before Spiritism I was a Catholic, and I read this in the Bible, and I couldn't understand that there are no explanations. There are just the words of the disciples, and I was like, how weird is that? Why Jesus is telling us to hate our parents? I couldn't understand. So when I discovered Spiritism and then came with the explanations of Kardec, I was like, aha! That's it. Now I understand.
You
So
know, yeah.
I was feeling like that child that suddenly sees something and like and in so many things, especially with many parables. I always love to talk about the parable of the wedding feast. That for me, that's the most crazy of all. And after you understand, you're like, but before it's like, what? He's killing people. That the people are being killed because they are refusing to go to a big party of a king. I'm like, that's crazy. But let's go. So the second one is forsaking father, mother, and children. Let me see if this is connected to the same thing. No, that's a little bit different. So let me read this one here. Whoever has left his home or his brothers or sisters, father, mother, wife, children, his lands, for my name shall receive 100-fold and shall have eternal life and inheritance. And then there is another one. Another said to him, Lord, I will follow you. But first, allow me to dispose of what I have at home. Jesus answered him, anyone who has put his hands to the plow and looks back is not fit for the kingdom of God. So this one is also interesting for us to analyze. So what was Jesus telling this person? He wants to go home. He's saying, Lord, allow me to dispose of what I have at home. So basically, he's telling Jesus he has things in the house that he needs to give to certain people, and then he will go with Jesus. This is kind of connected to the one we just read. We just said, who is more important here? Who you have to love less? Your things or following Jesus? So, how can we start talking about it?
You can go first, Nora.
You got me there. No, I mean, I think it's the same thing when it comes to mind. It's almost like, I think they give the Is here where they talk about when people like they marry, you leave your family and you move on. And so to me, when I was looking at this, it's you can find your own path. You're not, because a father or a mother or a child, it could represent something for us too, right? It could be literal, or it could be like, I created something, like it could be a job, and I feel like I'm the mother of it. So I hold on to this thing constantly, and it becomes, I'm the mother, I don't want to let it go, or it's my child. And sometimes, we hold on to projects and stuff. And so are we willing to like find our own path, and it's okay to release that one and just kind of go forth, right? If not looking at the literal, which would be family, of course, as well.
And this is very good because when people talk about letting go to follow Jesus, or letting something go to have this awakening in spirituality, for example, people always think about letting go finances, money, living, like searching for more, more, more. But people forget about letting go also kids, because our kids are not our kids, they are God's kids. But in this life, I was able to be his mother, but he's not mine. And especially to Brazilian parents, it's very hard. Brazilian moms are very like, but
Mexican,
we
Mexican moms too. Whew.
we have to be trained like, he is from God, and I have a job to teach him to be a good man, to be respectful, to give him education, love, everything. But then arrive to a certain point that's it. He needs to go through his life, not to be like all the time. So this is a good point. Good point, Nora. Teresa, do you want to add anything, or can we move to the next?
Well, no, just something that came to me, and I don't think that Kardec, um, emphasizes it, but I think also Jesus here is talking to us about true faith, because with true faith we are certain, we have a certainty, but we have a level of humility, and we don't doubt. We have a certainty, and I think here when he says about not looking back, he's talking about doubt, and it makes me also think about, I think it was Job's wife that she looked back and she turned to salt, and so I think this is talking about when we have that doubt, it's not true faith. We have a wavering faith. We're not exactly sure. We're kind of so. We're lukewarm. We're on the fence. And I think Jesus is saying, full heart, whole heart, and also that true faith is knowing and believing. And I think, I always think of Joanna of Chusa. And is it Chusa or Kusa?
Kusa.
Kusa. Yeah, I mean, she's a wonderful example of that, she suffered so much, but yet she kept her sight. She didn't look back. She kept looking forward. And we see her, she would rather, sacrifice herself and her child than to renounce, renounce, I'm not thinking of the right word.
And to be burned.
But they asked her to.
Abjura. I don't know how to say abjura in English.
Yeah, so to denounce it, to say, I change my mind or whatever, and she wouldn't. This is I think is a real example for us of true faith, of authenticity.
And just a curiosity, Joana de Cusa, everybody, the majority knows is Joana de Angelis, and her son there was Divaldo Franco. So very, very interesting. Divaldo always joked that he was not prepared in that time, and he was like, "No, don't do it, no." It's like, wow, very interesting. So the next one is leave to the dead the care of burying their dead. He said to another, "Follow me." But he responded, "Lord, first I must go and bury my father." Jesus replied, "Leave the dead to the care of burying their dead. As for you, go and proclaim the kingdom of God." So what can we talk about this one here? This is also a very good one, because people always say, Jesus was so cruel. The man wanted to go back to put his father in the cemetery, say his goodbye. Jesus was like, no. So was really that?
No, because I think, what we hear in this is those of us who know reincarnation, that this is a dead body, that the spirit is gone, and that those of us who know, that have been enlightened, awakened, we need to go on forward and carry this message forward, not hang back grieving over a dead body of the material, that, to recognize it's the spirit, that we are immortal spirits.
Exactly. And then just to let you know also, Emmanuel comment also about this, and he said that Jesus saw through this young man that in reality, by the Hebrew tradition, you have to go to bury your father. Then you have to demonstrate you are suffering a lot. And then there is a tradition there that they hire a bunch of women to cry. And the kids, the son, they rip their clothes, like demonstrating their pain. So everybody sees the kid is in pain. He deserves the fortune of the father. So Jesus saw through the boy that in reality, he was not wishing to bury his father, to say goodbye. No, he was interested to demonstrate that he missed his father, to be able to keep the finances. So yes, he probably loved Jesus too, but we come back to the first one. He didn't love less the money, his father is gone, but the things should be his. So this is one of the things to think about. So I'm moving quickly because I want to do all of them. So, Nora, this one you can start. I have not come to bring peace, but division. This one I love. I love this one. Because this one I actually understood even when I was Catholic. So let me see which piece I can read. Yeah, let me read this one. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to separate man from his father, daughter from her mother, and daughter in law from her mother in law. And a man will have as enemies those of his own house. So, what can we talk about it? Why Jesus was saying that he was going to actually plant war in the families?
It's a purging. It's a purge. It's a system. That's how we cleanse. I mean, think about it. I mean, I don't think I've ever thought about it this way, but I'm like reading about it with the whole thing of spiritism, because I've always seen it from a Christian without spiritism perspective, but I know it's Christian spiritism here. Um, to think about the reincarnation process. It's almost like it's embedded in here. We're going to be mingling with each other, the law of society as well, where in order for us to grow, right, it has to be out of those uncomfortable relationships or uncomfortable positions. And that's why I think, like, what came to my mind when I read this, actually the pandemic, when people had to, like, I was by myself, so but I know a lot of people had to be with families, and they had such a hard time because they were all in this same home, and within that home there was a lot of division. It took a while, I think, from some of my friends that share the stories, for them to come at peace within themselves. So
Yes, yes, yeah. Teresa, do you want to add something?
Well, I think this is speaking to us about progress, about letting go of old conditionings, and being awakened and knowing the truth. And so that maybe means we are in opposition with our blood ties. But it's like once you know, you cannot unknow. And so I think in that sense, there maybe is a cause of division, but it's all in the order of progress, that we need to let go of old beliefs, old conditionings that,
Yes.
yeah, that don't follow reason. And, Jesus brought us, enlightened us, brought us these new teachings.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly, but that's exactly how it is. It still happens nowadays with our families. You know, everything that's new usually causes a lot of a division, a lot of stress, a lot of fights. So let's go back to the time of Jesus. That's the traditional Hebrew family. So the Hebrews, they had many traditions. They were very connected to their traditions. Until nowadays, they are still very connected to their traditions. And in that time, the Hebrews, they didn't even marry the Gentiles. This is impossible. Are you crazy? You cannot fall in love with a Gentile. It's forbidden. So going back to the traditions, so there is a Hebrew family. They had many kids. Imagine a family with 10 kids, and suddenly one or two discover the teachings of Jesus and fall in love with it. And then they tell themselves, no, we are Christians now. And then the whole family is not. The whole family is very strict. They follow the Hebrew law, da, 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 da. And they have these two these two sheeps that they are not like the white ones, like we say the
The
black
black sheep.
ones are like, ooh. So from the 10 kids, these two are different. And the other ones, oh, they are the good kids. They continue following our tradition. But the still one now are following this crazy man that nobody knows anything about him, and he is preaching that the life is not here, the life is in another heaven. So for them was difficult to understand. So that's why Jesus was saying he was coming to bring a sword, that the mother and the daughter, the son and the father, they are going to end up breaking up if they were not in an agreement. And we bring it to our time. Imagine our time, things are better because people are, thank God, are more evolved. We are more open minded, even if not as we should be in many different things. Yeah, and we were just talking about the marriage of homosexuals, that to some people this is absolutely disaster. And I don't think so. I think it's actually an evolution, because everybody should have rights to do this. Why not? But anyway, so anything that's different causes a lot of division. So in nowadays, imagine a Jewish family, traditional Jewish family, and then comes someone that decides to be spiritist. Oh my God, that's gonna be wild. Because they're gonna be like, what happened to you? What made you believe in this craziness? So I'm not saying that every family is like this. I'm just giving one example of a very strict family. But it makes things to have this revolution, because most of the people cannot accept that. But then with time, things change. In my example, for example, I am the weird one. My whole family is Catholic. Catholic of my grandmother was like the assistant of the priest. She was in church every single day. And then comes me that talking about spiritism, communication with spirits, and life after death. My grandmother was just like, wow, that's a lot. But I have to say that from my whole family, the only person who really have the courage to come to me and ask me a little bit about spiritism was my grandmother. All the others, all her daughters, her son, my father, they were like, let's not talk about that because she's a little weird. But my mother, she was like, can you tell me a little bit of spiritism? What is that? Do you believe in God? So I was very happy that she actually opened up about it, and I could talk to her. So nowadays it's different. Nowadays, even my mother and father, they go to the spiritist center in their church, in their little city. Even if my father goes to both, like a lot of people in Brazil do it, and it's fine. It's fine. We have to understand that spiritism is like a spirituality. You can have a religion and you can have a spiritism. Spiritism is not a religion, even if, yes, there is this Christian base. But if you connect Christ to the moral teachings, you can even think that there is no Jesus. If you have something against it, just think about the teachings, and you will see that's something really good. That's something really positive. So it's good for us to see that even nowadays things can get a little difficult, but it will be better. Let me see what Saul said. Saul said, I am the only one spiritist in my family. My whole family is Catholic too. Exactly, Saul. Me and you. Me and you. A lot of people come to me, and even in my center here, and they say, oh, I'm a spiritist since I was born. I'm like, wow, look at that. I didn't have that. But as we say, we are born in the family that we need. There is a reason why I was born there. That We don't know what is the reason. Maybe to plant the seed of something different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember for me, I would hide my spiritist books, and my dad found them, and I was just like for reals, like, why are you going through my room? First of all, I'm in college already, and he sat me down and he said, Nora, you are going to hell. You know who this man is. And I was like, no, you, how do you know? See, I keep thinking I didn't have the guts to ask that, Dave. Yeah, I was so scared of my dad, but I was like, I kept thinking, how do you know who Chico was? I was quite impressed afterwards, but I had to take my books, and my friend held them for me. But I have been called the black sheep of my family.
Yeah.
Since yeah, I mean, and also being like homosexual, being lesbian is very difficult because my family, they're Pentecostal, half are Pentecostal and half are Catholic. So imagine,
Yeah,
spiritist
you are different in many ways. So it's like,
and a minority with society. I was like, that is a great combination.
yeah, yeah, it's tough, but we are there with a reason, and we always have the strength to overcome it, even if it's painful, and we wish things could be a little bit easier. But we learn to be resilient, to be able to overcome. And Teresa, how did you become a spiritist?
Yes, thank you. That's interesting. I too was raised in a Catholic family, but I was thinking. Well, actually, I was at a mediumship type meeting in which I knew nothing about mediumship, and I turned to the woman next to me and I said, "What is this about?" And she said, "Read No Solar." This woman was not a spiritist. I said, "Okay." So as soon as I left the meeting, I looked up the book online, and then I was like, "I want more of this," and I just started right there, just reading one book after the other. So, but what I wanted to say is being a spiritist has actually helped me to have more respect for Catholicism. I I actually feel like I have a better connection with Catholicism. I don't practice uh, being Catholic anymore. But I have a better respect for it now as a spiritist. I have a better understanding. Before it was all this, say these rosaries, say these prayers, but there was no meaning connected. And I feel like now I have much more meaning. I can say the rosary with my father, and it has much more meaning for me. So,
Yes, yes.
I have a
This,
better
this
connection.
is true. This is true. The same to me. I was always like rebellious about religion. So when I think about now, it's not just now, but like I think like uh, 10 years ago, I already changed. I'm a spiritist for 21 years. But like for I don't know, I think for like for 10 years, I'm kind of a, spiritist is the best. What
Mhm.
we shouldn't do. But I got into that, in that vibe that is so enlightening that I wanted everybody to understand. But as spiritism teaches us, we are all different, and we cannot obligate someone to follow something because it's not their time. Maybe later, or maybe they are not going to ever want to understand because they will understand in a different way. But yes, in the past, I was much worse, and I remember my grandmother's 80th birthday. Oh my God, 80th birthday was a gigantic party, and they organized the whole family to do something, and they asked me to do a prayer. I'm like, oh my God. And I was like that spiritist craziness, and I'm like, how I'm gonna do a super spiritist prayer? And like 100% of the people, 100% of the people were Catholics. And the priest was there because the priest was like the best friend of my grandmother. And nowadays, when I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, if I could come back and be humble, to be
Mm.
less extreme, things would be so much better. I'm glad that I was not the only one praying. Thank God, because after me, another two cousins did the prayer. But I did a very spiritist prayer, and I was talking about the. I didn't remember what I was talking, but I wanted to talk about spiritism in the prayer. So I finished the prayer. Everybody was looking like, even the priest was like. And I'm like, why did I do that? But it took me a long time to be able to understand that why you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
And the priest died, and if I could meet him and say, I'm so sorry because I was so stupid. I hope you understood that I was stupid. And I'm like, my goodness. But is the thing like. When you are young, you make many mistakes, and this is one of the beautiful things that age helps you to resonate things. And
Absolutely.
also when you are a spiritist for more time, I think when she was 80, I was like 2 years 3 years a spiritist, so I'm still like a crazy mood. And after knowing spiritism properly, I would understand that I should have never done that. But
Mhm.
you can always talk about the spiritism in a softer way, but not like in an imposing way. That was not nice. But okay, what can I do? What's done?
But we can even see it this way, Angie, since we're talking about those differences. That strange might be that, Jesus came and talked in a different language, but he was trying to get to the people and communicate and say almost the same thing in a different way. So sometimes we do have to sit down at a table and do that. And, I know that years later, like my dad, he said he's Pentecostal. He said such a beautiful prayer. And just to add to what you, Angie and Teresa, are saying, I was so moved that I completely forgot everything. It wasn't about spiritism or Pentecostal, nothing. The words, they really came from his heart. And I was like, wow, this is my dad. It was beautiful. And that's the language that I think that if any, that's the language that Jesus wants us to
Yeah,
resonate, connect with people. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, it's
You know,
true.
I think also, Angie, it's really beautiful, even though I know you look back and you feel kind of foolish, but I think this is it. These are the opportunities when we learn, because now you really know this inside of you and you really understand it,
Yeah,
because otherwise, then it's just kind of lip service. But once we really know, so, that's, I think spiritism is always reminding me that, these struggles are really here to help me and refine me and, you know, build my character. But it's true, it's not so comfortable. And sometimes you just want to, like, oh, I can't believe I did that.
yes, exactly. I'm like, oh gosh.
You girls are making me feel bad. I did a research paper and I was quoting Kardec. I feel so bad now. Well, it's an anthropology. We get to talk about stuff like that, but
That's
still.
good. That's interesting. So Saul said, my mom is the only one that likes to listen to me when I talk about spiritism. I gave my mom the gospel as a gift, and she has to hide because my sister said it is bad cause the priest said so sad. Yeah, yeah. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. One day it will be able to be more open.
It's
At
wonderful that
least
your
she's a little
mother
bit
embraces it.
softer. She's a little bit softer. I remember when I became spiritist, the first time I went to the city, the only thing I wanted to talk about was the spiritism. My God, I was so annoying and I didn't realize. I'm like, oh my goodness, why I was so annoyed, but it's good. Now I know if I could go back in time, I would do it a little bit different. I would be softer about it. I also have a cousin who is a spiritist, and she has to hide the books from
Mm.
her mom because her mom says this thing is something from the devil. And then I remember one time confronting her mom, my aunt, and telling her, but Tia, do you think Chico Xavier is from the devil? Oh no, that man, he was close to an angel. He only did good things. I'm like, yeah, but he was a spiritist. Well, he had this side that we don't understand.
Oh my God.
Oh,
So people will never be able to fully grasp. But this is the beautiful thing of Chico Xavier. He was able to make people, even the ones who didn't like spiritism, respected him because of his charitable work, his heart. He was always a gentle soul. He was always an angel, really, really, really a soft soul. So he's respected even like this. So we have very few minutes to talk now because we went crazy.
It was a
Oh,
good conversation.
yeah, exactly. And
So good. I mean,
my fault because I talk forever.
and I have to say, so wow, thank you for sharing that because I didn't know that other people would have to hide their books. That makes me wow. Yeah, it is tough, but
Yeah,
it's where
it
yeah.
is tough. You are not alone. You're not
You're
alone.
alone.
You can
Tell your
solve.
mom that Mom, that I live on my own. I carried this box with all my spiritist books. Every relationship we would break up, and there I go with my box of spiritist books. Okay, now I'm living by myself. My books are there.
Very good. So let's read. Teresa, could you start reading for us and then we stop and we comment?
okay, so do you want me only to read the highlight?
Yeah, the highlights because we only have like 10 minutes.
Okay, so the visitor. Certain people regard spiritist ideas as likely to disturb the mental faculties, and for that reason, they think it prudent to stop its expansion. Allan Kardec. You know the proverb, when you want to kill a dog, you say it's rabid. Such a ploy to arouse fear.
So this is good. I never even heard of this proverb in English, but we have these similar things in Portuguese. So you want to get rid of a dog, you just invent it is rabbit. It's not even it is rabbit, but you create this idea just to get rid of the dog. So that's how Kardec starts with the explanation. So he says, such a ploy to arouse fear, like the spiritist ideas arouse fear in people and not necessarily insanity. So Kardec now is going to talk a little bit about the
Okay.
insanity thing. So,
I looked at that proverb because I was like, it doesn't make sense. Another one came out. It says, if you want to kill your dog, accuse him of having rabies. Do you think that's, and it said a French proverb. Do you think it's that one? Because it's
about
not, because I looked at the word rabbit, but it's not like a rabbit.
rabbit, rabies, and rabbit is not the same thing.
Yes. Okay. I got it. I just wanted to make sure.
Rabies is a disease that
Correct.
affects dogs, and rabbit is a synonym when the dog has rabies.
Correct. Thank you. No, I looked it up. It was a different saying, like, but it was the same thing. Okay.
Oh, okay, good. So, Teresa, can you read this other portion too,
Sure.
please?
The source of insanity lies in a pathological condition of the brain, the instrument of thought. When the instrument is damaged, thought is impaired. Thus, insanity is a consequential effect whose primary cause is an organic predisposition.
Okay, so what can we talk about this portion that Kardec is trying to explain?
Do you want to start, Nora?
You take it. I'm scared now.
Well,
So
for
he,
one
he
thing, bringing up the
yes,
law of cause and effect, when you have a damaged brain, then the effect is this. It doesn't it doesn't work. So this insanity that surfaces this effect is due to the brain damage.
exactly. So if the instrument is like a phenomenal musician, is gonna play the violin, but the violin has one chord that is broken. It's not there. It's missing. So it's the marvelous violinist, but he's playing a broken instrument. So it's not going to be as good. So Kardec is making a comparison to the brain. He is saying the source of insanity lies in a pathological condition of the brain, meaning science already discovered there is something different in the brain of a person that becomes insane. There is something they don't know that in the brain that makes it happen. And then he says, the instrument of thought, when the instrument is damaged, thought is impaired. So he's saying if the instrument is not good, the transmission of the thought is not going to be, it's not going to be good. There is a problem. So insanity is a consequential effect whose primary cause is an organic predisposition, meaning the brain has a predisposition for that. So it's not the spiritism that's making people to become insane. It's a person already have a predisposition and becomes insane, but it's not because of spiritism. So he continues in many things, but there is a little bit more here. So Nora, could you read this, please?
We know that amongst our adversaries, it is an idée fixe that they consider themselves to be the only ones gifted with reason. In their eyes, we all deserve to be in an insane asylum.
Yeah, so in this tiny portion, Kardec is talking about the adversaries of spiritism, that they have a fixated idea, idée fixe. So it's a fixated idea that every spiritist person is bad, is evil, is doing something that's not good. So they will find any type of reason to confirm their fixed idea. So that's what he's saying. So in their eyes, we all deserve to be in insane asylums, meaning you spiritist, you're crazy. That's what he's trying to explain. So continue, Nora.
I would say that when well understood, it is actually a protection against insanity and suicide. Among the most frequent cases of brain overexcitation, we must include disappointment, misfortune, and thwarted affections,
And then he continues.
which are also the most frequent causes of suicide. True spiritists troubles are nothing more than the disagreeable incidents of the journey, right? So that's how we see it. Life sufferings are trials that aid their advancement if they bear them without complaining, because they will be rewarded according to the courage with which they have endured them. Resignation saves them from despair and consequently from ongoing cause of insanity and suicide. Also, because of what they have seen through communications with spirits, they also know of the deplorable fate of those who intentionally shorten their days. This picture serves well to make them reflect.
Let me see if there is anything. So let's talk about this. So why? What you guys understood about spiritism? Instead of creating despair and desire of suicide, actually goes to the opposite. What the spiritism makes to make a spiritist not to want to commit suicide. That's what Kardec is trying to explain.
Right. Well, this understanding that we see the life different, like the trials. I think we don't see them as a punishment or anything, but as a way to progress, to grow. And so that this is their life suffers or trials are to help us advance, right? And so that mind frame, going back to the brain, that vibration that spiritists are emanating or putting out there, that's what's helping them understand life around them, and so you don't become like, oh my god, desperate.
Yeah, exactly. Like the teachings of Spiritism helps us to understand that life goes on, and we have to find strength in ourselves to overcome whatever, understanding that all these bad times, they are temporary and they will pass. As everything good passes too, everything bad passes. But it gives us this support to have faith that things will get better. And he also mentions that the communications, right here, communications with spirits. In this portion here, Kardec is mentioning that through the mediumship meetings, we understand what happens to the people who commit suicide. We understand they don't disappear. They only died in the physical world, but they are pretty much alive in the other side, and they are pretty much in pain. That's why a lot of spiritists, they don't even think about suicide, because it's something that we know what happened. It's not just through mediumistic meetings, but there are so many books that talk about it. For example, the big book, the Memoirs of a Suicide, from the spiritist. What's her name?
Yvonne Pereira.
Oh, yes, Ivone Pereira do Amaral. So that's like a Bible against suicide. When we have all these explanations, all their stories, and what happened. So spiritists are like, da 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 da. I don't want this. This is not for me. So let's do the last portion. That's the last portion. So Teresa, could you read this last portion, please?
Sure, we mustn't confuse pathological insanity with obsession. The latter, which is obsession, doesn't originate from any sort of brain injury, from the control that malevolent spirits. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. From the control that malevolent spirits exert over certain individuals, and which sometimes has the appearance of insanity per se. Ordinary medication is powerless.
Yes, because what they were saying, if we read the whole text, they were saying that through meditation you can cure obsession, and we know it's not true, and because obsession is something really really strong, but it's not just a meditation that can stop it. But the big thing is like pathological insanity. That's what he tries to connect, saying it's damage of the brain. And if we had read the whole text, he mentioned even doctors who committed suicide and they studied about it. So it's something that it triggers and they don't have the strength and they end up committing suicide. And in obsession, that's what it talks here. The latter doesn't originate from any sort of brain injury. So it's not because a person had a concussion that they will become obsessed. It's not connected with the structure of the brain, but it's connected with a spirit that connected to this person. Maybe they had some kind of a disagreement in a past life, and then they came in this life when this person was not feeling good and her energy was down. So this book, it's very very beautiful. What is spiritism? And I always say this book is good for the people who are spiritists and understand, and they have like a grasp of the thought of Kardec, because Kardec, he explains things in such a level of a detail, making people to resonate. It's almost like Socrates. Socrates never really answered your questions. He asked you questions, drove you crazy because you end up saying things that you're like, no. And Socrates, yes. I love Socrates and Plato is beautiful. Anyway, so it's a beautiful book to help the ones who already know Spiritism, and also help the ones who have no idea of what is Spiritism. So they kind of they start having their little aha moments to understand it. Yes, so isn't that amazing? I love this book too, and it's a book that's not well known. Very few people know about this book. People usually study just the codification. But girls, thank you so much. It was a blessing. We are already over time, and I would like to ask Nora to do our final prayer so we
Sure.
can close the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nora.
Thank you. We'll just collect our waters, make sure, and take a deep breath and just connect to this divine light. And we thank you so much, dear God. Thank you, dear mentors of this program, for giving us this opportunity to study the gospel and to study Kardec in more intimate conversations, for helping us understand that language is not so much about the actual words, but the way that we connect. So we learned that Jesus had a way to tell us things so that we can think about them, explore them, ponder and talk, and grow into all of his parables. Thank God. And we also ask that you continue helping us expand in Spiritism, that this doesn't become something that we talk about, that we are that we become examples and beacons of light every day. We extend this prayer to everyone who is in need right now, whatever they need, that they receive special droplets of peace, hope, love, resolutions that they've been asking for, in health. And we ask for anyone at this moment that's needing help, they want to commit suicide, that you send someone to their aid, that they realize the beauty of life, and that all of those that are on the line, study Spiritism or not, that you inspire them to do what is best in their path. And for special prayer for our beloved Angie, she continues to study, and for her family, for Teresa, and she continues studying for our beloved Sol Sosa, her mom, and her family, and for anyone here, dear Vanessa as well, who was here, for our Kardec Radio family. Thank you so much. We send so much love and gratitude to each and every one of you. And so be it.
So beautiful. Very good, very beautiful. Thank you so much, Teresa. Thank you, Nora. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Saul. You're always with us. Have a wonderful month. Oh my God, Christmas is coming, New Year's is coming. So we are going to come back here just next year.
Oh my God.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. But Kardec Radio has so many programs, and we are going to be talking to many things. And actually, I'm going to be talking about joy in the month of December. So it's awesome. We have lots of things to talk about joy in life. And Teresa is going to be talking about gratitude.
Right.
Nice.
That's
Excellent.
awesome. That's
Right. Joy and gratitude, hand in hand.
awesome. So we have lots to be thankful in 2021. Was a very difficult year. 2020 was very difficult too, but 2021 not easy. So let's be thankful for being alive. Overcoming whatever difficulty we went through. Each person went through a difficult and different situation. Some people lost their jobs, others didn't, but some people lost family members, others didn't. So everybody went through something. And thank God we are strong. We still have our health, and we are here. So really, really thankful to be able to continue alive and to have you girls in my life, even if we are far away. Let's pray that 2022 will be better, so you can come here to visit me.
You can finally see how short I am. You are hard to see. I'm so short. My students, when I was teaching online, and then we met this year, but everybody's back in person here in Texas. Oh, and they look down. You do not look that short. I'm like, do not make me feel bad. No, so I'm just letting you guys know, because yeah, I just wanted to say you two are two of my favorite people. Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
fantastic.
Ah,
And I
sweet.
thank the pandemic, because I think that's when we really got to connect so much. So
Yeah, it's true.
That's true.
It's true.
That's very true. Lots of good things from the past.
including Soul Sosa. Yes, I got to meet Soul.
Yes,
We
yeah.
had the meetings at SSBA on Sundays. Yeah, that was nice.
It's
Yeah.
true. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy 2022 to everybody, and we will be back soon. God bless you all. See you
You
soon.
too. See you
Bye,
soon.
So,
Bye-bye. Bye, Saul.